Hello, everyone. This is Jamie Goldstein, astrologer for the Bridging Sky and Earth and Body Your Star Wisdom Summit. And I'm just so delighted to be here with evolutionary astrologer Sol Jonathan. And I have been a fan of your work for years. I've been watching you on like the EA, like Zoom YouTube channel for several years. And I'm always captivated when you share on evolutionary astrology. You always like fill me up like on the soul level when I get to hear you speak. I love you go so deep into like the psychology, and it really fills me up. And so Soul is going to be sharing on the nodal axis. We've had a nodal axis shift this year, 2022, from the Gemini Sagittarius axis that we had from essentially about May 2020 to January of this year. And now the nodes will be in Taurus and Scorpio for about a year and a half. And then also we'll speak on a very kind of big transit when the North Node will come to Uranus. So Sol, will you just share a little bit about yourself, and then we can just jump on into talking about the nodes?
Yes. Well, hi. Thank you for having me. It was a clear yes when you asked me to come. So that was nice, because we're coming out of this hibernation, pandemic, gestation phase. That's what it felt for me. Like I've been in my cave, and I've been, thinking a lot and deepening my work in many ways, and coming out again and sharing it. It's very fun. It's really truly a great inspiration. So yeah, and especially being an evolutionary astrologer, which was the path I chose, because I was so curious about my own nodal axis. So I had to figure it out. And that was back, I started out in the late 90s with my astrology practice. And then as we turned to a new millennium, I started delving into the world of evolutionary astrology. And then suddenly the world opened up with the internet spreading so deeply. So that's basically been my journey throughout the world of astrology. Other than that, I've been doing psychotherapy training, and I'm a meditation instructor, and I'm always been curious about healing modalities. So now, almost 30 years later, I see them all come together in one way or another. So I try to bring a synthesis of all these things into my work. And yeah, it is a constant evolution. That's the beauty of astrology. You never grow tired of it. So it's, but seeing that I'm a big fan of the nodal axis, I was just teaching on them this weekend. And it really dawned on me how the importance of the nodal axis, how important it is for the natal chart. And also now that we're seeing a transit, South Node in Scorpio and North Node in Taurus, how incredibly it's like it's shifting the underlying fabric of reality in one way or another. So now it's like if you had a stage, it was suddenly like we're shifted the scenography of the place. It's like, zoom over to Scorpio Taurus, and then the whole background shifts, but the actors, the planets, they stay the same. They are still in character, but they are in a different environment now.
I love that metaphor.
Yeah, it just came to me now. Yeah, but that's people have a little difficulties maybe understanding what is the nodal axis in terms of in transit in particular, because when you look at your nodal charts, when you look at your nodal axis in your chart, it's it's subject to a lot of in-depth soul searching, actually, because it carries such an important weight into your persona. It sort of also brings in qualities on both ends of the sign of the axis that affect that sort of manifests through the persona as sub-personalities, like areas of it's like a teaching ground in one way or another. This is what you're supposed to learn in this lifetime, and this is what you already know, and this is what you didn't figure out, and this is what you're carrying over, like it's bleeding through from a previous lifetime, or for, qualities, habits, karmas, whatever you like. And we're trying to purify them, refine them, and bring them. It's truly like the spiraling. Instead of repeating the circle, we just want to spiral upwards, so we get a little higher, energies available for us, instead of these dense karmic gravitational pulls that are quickly devouring our free will. And that's why this axis is so important for us in our lives. And yeah, so little wonder I'm passionate about this speech. Today is a rather sad day for Europe and for the world in general, because we woke up to the news of an invasion. And it came just in time for Uranus transit, actually. I was a little bit more hopeful for this Mercury retrograde, because I saw also during this Mercury retrograde, it's the second time Mercury squares Uranus in Taurus. And at the first time, a lot of perspective shifted when it came to the pandemic. Suddenly it was like the rules in Northern Europe started to shift. People tossed away their masks. There was like, it just changed overnight, the attitude, because of this new variety. And then everything shifted. Now it's completely like normal out there. People are like completely like normal. It's like almost forgotten.
Yeah.
So strange. It's like, okay, wow. If things can shift that quickly, I mean, that's good news, isn't it? Because then it can shift quickly into a positive direction as well. And maybe that's the hope that I carry in my heart for this conflict. It's been brewing for a long time. And, it's been years that Putin's been going on about NATO and how they've been constantly, rigging up, their little things around Europe, strategically trying to control him. And he didn't like it. So now and it came today. It really was brought to the surface. Yeah. So that is the South Node in Scorpio. Things that are being brought to the surface. This is not news. This is old news, but it's popping up right now. Right. So hopefully this is Mercury square Uranus. It will be so for a couple of days. We're in a very interesting time. I'm sure this will air a little later. So that by then, this is all past, right? The new moon is past. The Mars-Venus-Pluto conjunction is past. So between now and then, I'm sure we will have experienced a lot, and maybe huge, quick shifts that we didn't see coming because of this erratic nature of Uranus, and in particular this Mercury-Uranus energy that we have for a long time still. So long time, I mean a few weeks, well, maybe a week or so, with Mercury in particularly in Aquarius. I'm not sure when he enters Pisces, but at least it gave me a powerful frame, because I'm talking about Uranus on the North Node. And from an evolutionary perspective, Uranus is correlated to trauma as well, right? Because it's so quick, And the South Node in particular, which is always a place where the energies are being purified. The South Node in Scorpio. What is Scorpio? It's the depth of our inner selves. It's that part which is held inside that used to be a secret, and then suddenly it wasn't no more. It's the traumas, it's the Pluto in Scorpio generation, for instance, which is probably, listening right now, a lot of them.
That's me.
It's normally when I have Pluto in Scorpio people, it's like, and it's very focal in the chart.
I have my moon right there too with Pluto.
Okay. Well, then you probably recognize this. It's like, so you think you're gonna experience the other shoe dropping soon? Oh yeah. That's probably gonna happen anytime soon. That the other shoe drops and Armageddon arrives, and this terrible thing happens, and that terrible thing happens, because Pluto in Scorpio is carrying over. It's like it carries a little suitcase, and in that suitcase it is pain and powerlessness, and also power. Yeah, sure. You know, very powerful generation, but it's also the destruction. You know, as we come to Pluto, we come to the destruction of the ego in a more general sense, right? But when we look at it historically, we also see the remnants of darker times in the souls of the Pluto in the Scorpio generation. And I think that's why sometimes this feeling that, oh no, when something happens in their lives, it's like, oh shit, it's all going to be destroyed now. This feeling, you know?
Yes,
It
I
feels,
can so relate to that.
yeah, it's dramatic because Scorpio is very dramatic. It's life and death, you know? It's not like you either lie or you tell the truth. There's no in between, you know? You
Yeah.
either love me or you don't. There's no lie in Scorpio if Scorpio had its way. So with the South Node now in transit through this sign, and we see, you know, it's about power, but the darker side of power. Power is not necessarily a bad thing, right? It's the power abuse that's a bad thing, right? So that's like the abusive ways we get power. But that again has an underlying reason, because if you think you have to abuse to get power, maybe you don't really believe in your own power. And maybe that belief that you're not powerful is not something that is real, but it's caused by something traumatic. In psychosynthesis, we talk about the primal wound. That's where people are not being met with empathic resonance. It's when they're being made into objects and haven't received the necessary connection when it was needed. So they're left ungrounded, decentralized, without that center of self-worth intact, right? There's no the self-worth, the very foundation of being. I am that I am. I don't have to be someone to be that I am, right? I am here. So, okay, I'm here. You know, I don't have to prove it. I don't have to justify it. I don't have to work super hard. I am, right? So that's self-worth when it works well. And I normally differentiate between self-worth and self-confidence, because self-confidence is like, when I was younger, I could speak French. Mais alors, c'est pas possible ça. You know, I was talking French as an expert. And then I forgot French. I used to be very confident with speaking French, and I didn't entertain it, so I forgot it. And now, if I'm supposed to speak French, I would do it without confidence. Right? So I mean, if I put my value in my looks or in my status or in how much I make, or if I'm married or not, or if I got kids or not, or if I'm healthy or not, I am making myself into an object. Right? It's conditioned love. Self-worth is unconditional. It's the only place to get to it. It's peaceful, it's accepting. And this inner power struggle, that's what's going on in Scorpio, right? So therefore, on a large scale, on a global scale, we might see these power battles going on, you know, like they're compensating for lacks. We don't have enough oil. Okay, we know what to do with that, you know. We don't have enough energy. I don't have enough power. You know, there's not enough. There's like hunger when there's not enough, and never is enough. There's always something more. And that's how it became, you know, it becomes some sort of a beast. And that's the Hydra we meet in the Tales of Hercules. The Hydra, the nine-headed serpent. Have you heard of her? Yeah. Hercules is, he has to go out and slay the monster. And he uses his sword, aka brute force, to chop her heads off. I'm strong, I'm Hercules, so I'm just gonna kill. This is easy, I'm gonna do this in 2 minutes, you know, he thought. But the monster grew 2 new heads. Like, oh dear, we just doubled our our opponents. How did we do that? Thankfully, he had a smart companion with him, a little ape, almost like a spirit whispering into his ear and going, "Psst, hey, Hercules, let go of that hubris, that fighting back thing, and use the light, the power of the light, you know, fire, in order to slay the Hydra." Turns out the Hydra couldn't stand the light, so it was overpowered by the power of light. So there's like this hidden message in Scorpio to transform the desire to fight back, the desire for revenge, the desire for getting even, the desire for this, the desire for that, by moving into a higher place inside of yourself, you know, and and then of course winning, because truth will always win. But it's a longer journey. It's somewhere where you have to kind of master the nature of desire.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people will see how much trouble they get into by their desires. Like, I need new women, or I need a new this, or I need a new that in order to be happy. And they destroy maybe their health, their economy, their this, their that. And then eventually, when that loss occurs, that's when the change starts. That's when the journey upwards begins, and people can heal again, and understand that, oh, I did it to compensate for a lack. That lack was caused by a trauma. So we're heading into real trauma therapy. I've seen this happening on a global scale for quite a bit, but now I think the moment has come where we are also being invited into the North Node of Taurus, where we get a chance to embody this change, to actually manifest it through our bodies. So Patricia Walsh is another of my colleagues, and she wrote this beautiful book about the nodal axis. And in one of the stories about Taurus, I think it is, Taurus-Scorpio axis, she says, imagine this. You're a soldier. You've been to the war. There's a Martian thing with Scorpio, right? Pluto, Mars, they belong together in the realm of archetypes. And in traditional astrology, Mars is the original ruler of Scorpio, which makes sense. There's this battle between life and death that goes on there. But she says this, so okay, so you've been the soldier, you've been going to the war, maybe you lost. You come home bleeding and you're just like full of wounds. And I think a lot of people feel this. It's like, especially with this Ukraine thing, it's like, dear Lord, didn't we just had, wasn't my cup runneth over already, I maxed out on shit a long time ago, to be quite honest. There's no room for no more negativity in my little house of joy. I'm sorry, I've been purifying energies for years now, and it's like, dear Lord, why now? And then that's what the gods served us. So, okay, yeah, right. Okay, I'm not sure if the gods served us this though, but that's what's happening anyway. So we can't kind of like stick our heads into the sand and pretend it's not there. We have to figure out how to alchemize our own feelings in the process so that we do not create more war. We want to go to Taurus North Node so we can create harmony, peace, well-being, sensuality. It's both of these ends are yin in nature, but we need to create something that an oasis, a garden, a place where things are not destroyed, a place where we can heal. So out of the darkness of the defeat, of the gloom, doom, and death scenario of the Scorpio shadow energies. Every South Node deals with the shadow of any sign. So in particularly, we will see the South Node tendencies being more lower vibe, denser vibe Scorpio, right? Because we're purifying them. And the soldier comes home and is like, oh, I'm so exhausted, and there's a hammock and there's chirping birds, and there's a little pond over there, and it's just quiet. There's nobody here. There's like, there's no people here. I can finally heal, you know. I can just go in, I can relax. That's what the nervous system needs after a lot of pressure and tension and disaster and loss and pain and trauma. It needs soothing energies. It needs to turn itself into building mode again, the nervous system. Just like, okay, so we're going to rebuild now. Yes. So it's really, truly the Phoenix rising axis, you know, where Taurus is actually that physical embodiment of that new coming out. And, you know, Scorpio is that burning to ashes kind of energy, where everything that you don't need anymore is being taken away. So for you guys born with Pluto in Scorpio, there's also a generation in the 50s born with Neptune in Scorpio. There's in particular a generation born in the 80s that sports both Saturn and Pluto and South Node in Scorpio. So, and my own son has the South Node in Scorpio. And, you know, I'm paying attention, what happens. Because I remember from my first nodal return, there was this feeling that this probably happened before. It was like the gate of my previous lifetimes just presented itself again through people and opportunities and situations. And me being my South Node in Gemini, it had a lot to do with multicultural experiences. Like suddenly I was in Paris, and then I met a priest from the Vatican, and then I started working for a Japanese guy, and I started studying Reiki, and then I was deep into Buddhist philosophy, and then I was in the world again, you know, and my journey began, which is very much so with the South Node in Gemini to the North Node in Scorpio. The journey with the South Node in Scorpio to the North Node in Venus is to peace, harmony, re-empowerment, self-worth, healing your self-worth. Again, the foundation rock upon your entire being will blossom. It's the soil that the flower that you are resting in, and it needs to be detoxified. The air needs to be free from pollutions, the psychic sphere free of toxic energies. You know, anything toxic is Scorpio, is poison. So the fumes of the lower vibes needs to be completely like, ciao, ciao, you can get, yeah, no, I'm closing my door, kicking up my hammock and just like chilling. You know?
Yeah, and what do you think? Because right as we're filming this, and the energy will still be here as the summit starts to, you know, air. Venus will be just on the other side of Pluto. So we actually have Venus, the ruler of the North Node, and Pluto, the ruler of the South Node, you know, conjunct. And then Mars, you could also say, is the traditional ruler. They're all kind of three together meeting up right now, and right as the summit, you know, will be airing.
Yes. When is the summit airing? I'm sorry, I'm so bad.
Yeah, March 5th is when it starts. So Mars,
yeah.
I think March 6th, Mars and Venus are at 0 Aquarius. So they're still with Pluto.
So you're pretty okay. So Mercury will still probably be in Aquarius and stuff like that. So it's pretty fresh. Okay, so it's not, I thought it was further down the road, but that's beautiful. Okay, so yeah, absolutely true. Yeah, Mars Venus is conjunct, and we will not have another Venus retrograde for the duration of this particular nodal transit, which is interesting because they come with the ingress and the Venus retrograde happen at the same time. Venus was still retrograde as the nodal axis ingressed into Scorpio Taurus. And then she was suddenly the ruler of the North Node and made us re-evaluate some stuff. What is important for me, you know? What is really important? Why am I doing all this? You know, through Scorpio, we will definitely question our motivations. If I were to put one thing for a keyword for this particular phase, it would be intention. Just what is your intention? That's why they call Scorpios the psychic, X-ray people.
Yeah.
They can just see straight through people and see, I know what your motivation is. you know, it's like, it's like you don't have any clothes on. It's like, did you just completely, out me? I'm transparent to you, am I not? Touche. And then it can become too suspicious, too skeptical. You know what trauma does to us? It makes us defensive. It makes us wait for the other shoe to drop.
Mm.
And it doesn't have to be real. So then you can flip-flop into the paranoid side of Scorpio, where you think everybody's after something that you have. What do you want? What you want? Huh? You want my love. That's what you say, but that's not what you want. You want my resources. You become a little weird like that. And I think it's very important to remember that the South Node will always purify. It will always be very purifying in its nature. It doesn't. It's in a way it's scorpionic in its nature. That's also something that I just kind of associate the energy with, because for me it's like this constant purification that goes on the South Node. So add a little Scorpio on top of it, and then you get even more.
Yeah.
Like it's really like it's the cauldron. And it's like, and Pluto is also the ruler in modern astrology to the South Node, and lo and behold, soon they will dance together, Pluto, Mars, and Venus, right? And we will see probably the nastiest side of power abuse coming through, and we can be scary sometimes, human beings. It's like, dear Lord, I guess you didn't think, right? And there you go, huh? So sometimes we just get blinded by our desires, and I think that purification process of reaching deeper and understanding the motivations behind is, what's going on a very deep level on Earth today, psychologically speaking, because we start to understand that this is not an isolated moment in time. This is a historical battle. It's the same battle that's been here forever. I mean, I'm talking Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, same shit, different wrapping type of thing, right? The same battle. Oh, it's the same battle. Yes, same battle, different wrapping. They're fighting again, like fighting for the resources, fighting for land, fighting for power. But then again, also, what I ended up calling the Puritans versus the cowboys. That's also another battle, the left and the right, the east and the west, the man and the woman, the light and the dark. But when you really heal, it's non-dualism. It's like it's tantric.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so because otherwise I will reject parts of me that I don't find appropriate or Puritan enough, and pretend I'm not like one of the bad guys. I never hurt people, I'm capable of hurting people. Everyone are. Yeah. So if I own it, I start transforming it.
Yeah.
I start transforming sometimes my hidden motivation. Why did I say that? Why did I do that? Huh? So it's really like we're heading into collective psychology class, Yeah. we're going to see the underlying stuff now. Are you ready?
Yeah. I'm actually already seeing it in my own life with some of my relational dynamics, where I caught myself the other day saying, wait, I don't ever respond like that, telling someone, and it's like, oh, yep. Okay. Here we get to take a look at what's been under the surface there.
Yes. And how much we've suppressed, and how much we denied, and how much we pretended, and how much we didn't tell. You say you love me, but is this love, right? That's a good question. Does love feel like this? If it feels abusive, or if it doesn't feel good, or it makes you feel bad, or yes, but my child, I love you, but I don't feel it. I don't feel supported, nourished, seen, embraced, met halfway. It's just a one-way street, that type of thing, and then it ain't love.
Yeah.
So you can't say Jesus loves all and then condemn some people.
Yeah.
does not work. That it's like cognitive dissonance is what we
Yeah.
call that. So whatever cognitive dissonance we are kind of keeping in our own lives, it will certainly manifest as Jung would say, as your faith, but it would manifest as a projection, probably. It's that
Mm.
guy over there. Sometimes what we have to do, and that's what happens in Taurus. This is, like a place where we go in and we try to reach a level of us where we are more autonomous, where we are not in this codependence with the world all the time. The world needs to be perfect, otherwise I'll be bad. I don't like these people. We got to get rid of these people because they're annoying me. Well, sorry if you don't like that type of race or women or children or dogs, but you came to, hey, Earth, multitude of expressions of divinity, you came to this place and then you expect everybody to be like you and agree with everything you say, and you think that's the only way to move forward, to get rid of people you don't like. That's what we've been doing for so many lives and so many eons. It's starting to get old. So come on, you're racist in 2022? How's that possible? Can you imagine? I don't get it. What's the problem? But then again, I'm Aquarius and I'm completely blind to certain things. An idiot is an idiot. Doesn't really matter what type of clothes he wears or how socially well off this person is. So I don't go around saying, eat the rich.
Yeah.
Maybe lots of nice rich people who are doing great work for humanity. So I don't know why. Yeah, sure. There's also lots of bad people on this earth, and we have to not be naive. And I guess that's what Scorpio teaches us, to not be naive and gullible about it, and be aware that it's not that we are abusive in nature, it's that we've been carrying so much historical trauma with us. So maybe we lost hope in love, right? Maybe we didn't believe it anymore. Maybe we accepted that everything is give and take. I have this to offer, you give me this back. This bargaining thing that we are into. And we became extremely codependent on each other. That's a little bit of a problem with world politics today, is that, but we're very dependent on Russia when it comes to gas. Our prices for electricity soared because of this conflict, because it's being used strategically as well. He's been and then I have to pay for it, and the guy in Spain has to pay for it, and then the people who are freezing in the Pyrenees are paying for it, and people are paying for it. Doesn't make sense, but that's the chess game thing, and we're all dependent on each other. And I think you said it well when you started, when we had a little chat before we began, that we are dependent on each other. We can't pretend anymore that we are living on an island for ourselves. So this globalization project that is now happening with the very quantum leap of consciousness that is occurring through this experiment called the internet, and us meeting up, talking together, sharing, experiencing, understanding. Takes a little time though, right? But I think eventually we'll get back to the same thing, because I believe deep inside that each human being is inherently good. And the shit we do, it's not because it's compulsive, it's trauma. It doesn't excuse bad behavior, because we are all responsible for cleaning up in ourselves, right? We can't blame our upbringing forever if we want to be free. So we can't be run, an organism driven by bitterness is not a very happy place. It sort of tears itself down from the inside. So it's up to us to create the harmonious energies of the North Node through going through the autonomy that is Taurus. Okay, I'm gonna fix it myself then, right? okay, I'm going to be alone for a little while. I don't have to date. You know, it feels great. Not like look at me go, I'm going to be there. No, but more like, you know what? I think I'm just going to enjoy this.
Yeah.
I'm just going to like, I call it sensual therapy, senses therapies. You taste, you feel, you smell. When you smell a flower, people, I often do this in my meditation. It's like I make people pretend that instead of inhaling, they're actually smelling a flower. And you should see people go. It's like they're being filled up with fragrance from top to toe, like beauty fragrance, whatever it is. They're just like, oh, wow, something happens to my brain. Yes, something happens to your brain. You can actually heal your brain, but you have to do it. You can't just talk about it. You have to sit there and pretend you're smelling flowers, maybe for a long time. The Buddha is said to be born. They're at least celebrating his birthday in the month of Taurus. Actually, for the full moon in Taurus, which is in Scorpio. So that axis is correlated to the Buddha enlightenment process. That's good news for a lot of people who's been sitting on their meditation pillow for quite a while, because with Uranus hitting the North Node starting this summer, the quantum leap, which is a word you could easily use a little like cliche-ish to the Uranus on the North Node, it is here now. You know, it's like, oh wow, you know, like I got it. Yes, now I got it. You know, that's Uranus. It's like bling. Oh, it was there all along.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just like ding, this moment of truth that just liberates Prometheus. Taurus associates Uranus with Prometheus, and Prometheus is this titan who steals the fire from the gods. Oh, God forbid, and gives it, you know, to the humans. And for that, he's being punished. He's being put on a stake, and a vulture eats out his liver every day, but he's immortal. So, of course, he grows a new liver, but it's very, very painful. And eventually, he switches places with Chiron. This is interesting. It's also one of the funny mythological blinds that people should get their minds into. What does that mean? But that's something for another lecture talk. But Prometheus is very Uranian in his nature. He wanted people to have their own power. How revolutionary of him, huh? You know, so there's like that sense of wanting something to be liberated, wanting to be free from something, the chains of my own limitations, the pains of my own traumas, the apparent lacks. I want to transcend my psychology of not enough. Yeah, so it's always been about resources. That's why we drain our life forces, because we have to have enough money to survive. So it's going to be about money too, and it's going to be about food, and it's going to be about how much you think you need versus how much you actually need. But that Uranus there, you know, on one end, it, as I said earlier, it has that feeling. It can be a little traumatic, you know. Every 7.5 years, Uranus is on a nodal axis, right? So every 7.5 years, that's what happens. And now we're back there again. And everything, you know, that we can't prepare for Uranus. We just have to, we just have to be there, put one foot in front of the other, work on your body. This is embodiment. It's sensual therapy. Anything you can give that will nourish your senses and connect you with this moment and give you that little haven of peace, go there. That's the haven of peace. And Uranus can bring incredible growth. One day it's like, oh, now I know who I am. That's what Uranus can figure out for you. It's like, because you realize something. So Uranus is aiding the individuation process in a life. And you become more than you were. Now, for some people, it can act quite traumatically. Some people, they say ignorance is bliss. And I know a lot of people find spiritual awakening, for instance, to be pretty brutal and rough. It's like, I can't be with my old friends now because we don't have anything in common anymore, And people suddenly end up feeling very lonely and uprooted. And their previous knowledge is just, now they see it's just a bundle of illusions, so they can't go back. But where are they going to? And sometimes this, of course, for instance, let's say there was this family in Ukraine, and one day they were minding their own business, and the other day they had to start figuring out what to do with their lives because it's all gone now. To talk about having to be forced into non-attachment. Oh, never mind, my family lived there for 100 years, minded their own business. Now it's all gone. So it's death and life, and nothing lives forever. And then, as the Buddha would say, but something stays the same. The Buddha said the four corners, the jewels of the Buddhist lore is life is suffering. That's the first. And the second, which is, there's freedom from suffering. But then again, you have to be capable of non-attachment, which is hard because we attach to create, and then we detach because we have to go back into death again and entropy and let go. All good things come to an end. If you meet the lover of your life, one day, one of you will die, even if you're 80 and 100. It's just going to be separation one day, because life and death belongs together. And that was really the realization of Buddha. So he found that midpoint, that place where he could be free from these conditions. No, that's
I call the Taurus-Scorpio axis the axis of attachments sometimes.
Of attachments, yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, for sure. It's mine. You're mine. But with Uranus there, I think we're all moving into a more understanding that, a deeper understanding that, okay, well, we have to let go too. We can't hold on forever. The dark side of Taurus is stagnation, because we have so many attachments. And then Scorpio comes in and says, well, if you don't want to let it go, I'm taking it anyway. So there's it's definitely an axis of attachment, but it's also an axis of death and rebirth.
Yeah.
So, death itself is detachment. It's hard for us to imagine not having people we love in our lives anymore. But as I'm growing older, I realized, what was it my mother said? Well, my time for going to weddings is over. This is now the time for going to funerals, she says. So all she does is, instead of waving hello to Earth and greeting new children into Earth and celebrating love and being in love, she's like, goodbye, old friend. It's like, that's that stage of life, right? And we cannot not go there. We all have to be there at one point or the other. So yeah, I guess on a more metaphorical level, it's also meaning, are we willing to let go of our former, maybe a little tight personas, so that we can grow and become the flowers we were meant to be, at least in this season, and then maybe next season we will be forced to grow even further. So yeah.
How can we lean into that Uranian energy? I think, and you may have shared the date already, I can't remember, of when the North Node. Yeah, 31st of July. Yes. So how, during that time, how can we, any guidance on how to meet that energy? I know Mars will be right there too with Uranus and the North Node. I've been I've had Uranus activating a lot of stuff in my chart over the last few years, all being in Taurus. And so
Well, then you know what it is. It's like walking on an earthquake.
yeah.
It's like one day this, and then next day, oh, it wasn't that. Oh, it was something else, you know? So I once had a meditation where, yeah, shamanic astrology is very interesting, especially if you know, like if you want to understand energies, right? I mean, they're all energies, right? They have their own vibes. And once I had this incredible thing happening, it was just here on my table, and I was talking to my friend, a very prolific healer, very good healer from Germany that taught me a lot. And we were just talking, and I said, yeah, but you can check out the planets, right? You can just contact them, and then you'll see, like, have them embodied in a way. And we hadn't even said the word. We can talk about Uranus. That's what I said. I'm like, because Uranus, I'm Aquarius, right? I like Uranus. And boom, it was like the energy was there. And it was the weirdest kind of thing, because what we saw, and he saw the same thing, you know, that was the skill he had, you know, he could travel with me. And it was like this, if you've seen some sci-fi movies or something like that, where you have like this person on a screen and the picture is starting to break up, like,
Yeah.
there you are, you're not, what? Full expressions of sudden energy that just erupted. It's like, and of course there were other things, but it's rather eccentric. It's hard to control. It can be scary. It increases your nervous activity a lot, like the nervous energy. The neurological tension is higher. There's more potential for anxiety, heart attacks, strokes, etc. when Uranus is triggering a chart that is imbalanced. Freak accidents, weird things, stuff that just moved out, like this Uranian thing, like almost like an jolt, like that kind of thing. So that was like a close encounter with Uranus, you know, like, so when it's in transit or when it's particularly strong, like it will be, you can expect the unexpected. It's eccentric, it's off the charts, it's sudden developments, it's things you didn't see coming. How can you prepare for that? How can you prepare for the thing that you can't prepare for? It's a little bit like preparing for a Neptune transit. It's like, I know exactly how to handle this one. Yeah, you think. The outer planets are difficult to sort of plan. What they demand of you is to take one day at a time, and especially because it's Uranus and it can increase the nervous activity. I particularly recommend doing breath work, for instance, body work. This is the time we're supposed to use our bodies, you know. Hugs and kisses and cuddles and cats and kids and trees and grass and whatever you can embrace it. Ground. What is good when the electricity is high? Grounding. An ungrounded electricity, you know, is dangerous. Oh, your screen disappeared. Yeah, so that's, I don't know what happened there, Jamie. Oh.
So sorry, my computer was about to die, and I was like, I'm gonna run real quick and grab my charger.
Okay, cool.
Oh, this is so good. And
that was so Uranian, the thing that happened there. Like,
yeah.
It's a very classical thing with Uranian people. If you have like somebody with Sun square Uranus, Mars square Uranus, Moon conjunct Uranus or something, they're there, and next thing if they're not.
I have Saturn conjunct Uranus within 1 degree.
Oh, rebel you. Now, that's a little different, but when you get Uranus on the personal planets and the intimate planets, you can get people who are very on and off in they're cool, hot and cold. They can be emotionally unavailable, wanting their freedom to go on and just do whatever feels good in the moment, instead of having to plan it all. So the best thing we can do is to ground the energy and,
Yeah.
so that it's not taking us on a ride that is too stressed, weird, ungrounded. And especially if your life is going through changes that are difficult and big, huge, grand changes, you have to have time where you can hammock through it, as I like to say. Just breathe through it, integrate, chill down. You have to kind of start controlling time, because the speed of Uranus is so quick that it feels like the Earth is spinning. But being the captain of the ship, you control time. So you say, we're just gonna take time down now. Rhythm, take the rhythm down, take the heartbeat down, take the pressure down. You are in a phase where it's all very weird. It's strange, it might be chaotic. Uranus is the planet of chaos. It might be erratic. One day this, the other day that. What do you need? I need time to not judge what is happening. You don't know yet where you're going. It might be all good, you see, probably. And then just take time to breathe. Just connect with your body again. And I think that's going to be a lot of very helpful for people, especially if they go through traumatic changes and huge shifts in their lives, where everything they thought they were supposed to do with their lives, suddenly the script changed. We're not doing that movie anymore. We're doing this now. I was like, oh dear, we're doing this now? Yeah. So it takes a little time to readjust. And that's, I guess, something we just gotta work on through the opportunities that we have. And the opportunities that we have available are, we have nature. It's not expensive to buy a hammock. Hopefully a lot of us have access to nature. If not, my friend was sick the other day, and he that was so cute. He had this underwater thing going on. And for me, there was a turtle there. And a crew of cameramen had followed this turtle around on the coral reef somewhere in a beautiful Pacific place, and this turtle was just swimming around. It was extremely calming. It's like, I can watch this turtle forever. Yeah, isn't it cool? It was like, and with this la 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 music on. So if we can't get out to nature, nature can come to us, and we can do stuff like that. But anything to get your vibe down and your brain waves into a more harmonious place, because the one thing I noticed with Uranus is sleep patterns change a lot. So people get insomniacs. Can't sleep, my brain is going, So
that happened to me when Uranus stationed retrograde last year. I didn't sleep, I feel like, for a month.
Wow. Yeah, but it's hard sometimes. I saw it last Mercury square Uranus. My son started having a little trouble sleeping. I too. I was like, I have to process a lot. So I'm currently experiencing Sun square Uranus. So there's plenty of stuff going on in my own life. So it takes time to process, right? So just take that time, use it, and please use it, because if it's unprocessed, it can lead to a lot of erratic behavior, and I don't think we want that in our lives.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And do you feel, sometimes I feel with the Uranian energy, it's this is just for an example in my own life. So last year, this was 2020. Yeah, the very beginning of 2021, Uranus state retrograded right back to my Jupiter, stationed direct after retrograde right on my Jupiter in my 10th house on my MC. So I felt this destabilizing. There had been career-wise, I was split between two different professions, essentially, this huge tension, huge destabilization. And knowing Uranus was there, I knew I was like, and I felt it, I knew in my intuition, this is something I just knew in my heart. I was like, this destabilizing energy is the opportunity to take that leap of faith. And so then I went all in on astrology, just totally letting go, letting go of the other career I was doing.
Amazing.
It went all in, and I kind of knew if this is the time to take that risk, take that leap of faith. But I knew this is something I knew in my heart of heart that was the right direction for me. So it wasn't erratic really or impulsive, but I felt that resistance. I felt that destabilization, and I went with it.
Well, wow, good for you. Yeah, it's hard. It's like, that's when I started astrology too, in 1999. Uranus was exactly on my sun. And I had no idea. I came to this city, it's a west coastal city in Norway, and I hadn't been here before. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna go there now. I was traveling. I was like traveling Wilbury, a little bit, living a little bit here and a little bit there, because I had no idea. And meanwhile, I was just studying a lot of esoterics, right? So I came to this city and stumbled upon one of these alternative centers where they had like reflexology, massage, healing, all kinds of therapies that, like, for me, it was, I came from then a northern place where they had little things. See, like, it was just like a nature exploration for me those years when I lived there. It was like a tiny little town of 9,000, and I came to the second largest town in Norway, and they had like, wow, an alternative. People like me there, probably, I thought. So I stuck my head in, and I came out three hours later with a contract and an office, and that's when I started my practice. And that's when
wow.
Uranus. So now, yeah, that's how it works. That's how Uranus works. I couldn't have foreseen that.
Yeah.
It's, it was Michael Lutin who said to me, you can't foresee Uranus. And I'm like, but what am I going to say? What am I going to tell my clients?
Yeah. I remember when I was in my Saturn return, because I have Uranus and Saturn together. I was wondering, I went to an astrologer. I was like, tell me about my Saturn return. And they're like, well, you have Uranus with your Saturn, so I can't really tell you anything.
Sorry, but give me my money back. The thing is, listen, yeah, now I have it again for the second time after, the first time after that, I have an angular aspect to my sun from Uranus. It's the same thing. I'm like, but the thing is, you prepare. It's part of the individuation process. So I had already prepared, but I didn't know I could make it into a job. And look, here I am 22 years later, 23 years later, I'm still doing it. So it's like, I just had no idea, but I just did it. But I had prepared. I had already started building the form that became the expression of my heart, right? I had already started practicing. I had already given loads of readings. I had begun the journey. I didn't know it was a journey even. I just did it for fun. And then, yeah. So still now I'm working on other things, and there's an ongoing individualization going on. As an astrologer, you can study forever and you can not get all the books read anyway, and then you struggle to find your own expression in it. It's a very individuated science, which means we are not held down by the rules of scientific method, which I think is good for creativity. So you have an opportunity as an astrologer to individualize in your field and find your own voice. We can't mimic other astrologers, or we can't, we have to individualize the material, and that takes time.
Yeah.
So for me, that's part of the journey that I'm on now, the stuff that just comes.
This is so good. Well, this has been filled with so much richness on the nodal axis, the Uranian energy, really working with letting go of some of our attachments and this reshifting of our values, and taking a look at what the Scorpio South Node is going to bring up and purifying, and then leaning into the beauty of the Taurus earth to help, help balance us and
Help manage it.
ground this energy. Is there any final things you feel inspired to share?
I think I've taken up quite a bit of space now. I think,
Oh, this is so beautiful. This is so like soul nourishing to listen to.
Oh, good. I'm happy to hear. Well, I'm inspired. I've always been inspired. I don't know if you've ever heard of Obelix and Asterix, but Obelix and Asterix is a cartoon from back in the days when I grew up. And Obelix was this huge guy. He was this, and Asterix was this little guy. And it's a comic about beating up the Romans and making them, you can't come into this village, and they had this potion, a strength potion. And everybody had to take strength potion that Miraculix made, and they became super strong, and they were just knocking out the Romans like this. But not Obelix. He never got any because he fell in the pot when he was a child. So he's like the guy who's always having this energy in him. And sometimes I tell people, well, I fell in the pot when I was a child. So it's like, it's just, so I take up a lot of space. I take up a lot of space now today as well. So, but I'm happy to share.
This is so beautiful. This is really so nourishing to get to sit here and receive this with you. And I'm just so excited for everyone who will be watching this soon to come to get to receive this. And I'd love to open up space for just any offerings, anything you have going on that you feel inspired to share about.
Yeah, I'm actually teaching a little bit this year. I'm teaching in Finland in June, and then of course some local stuff, but I'm also teaching online. Actually, I'm going to teach on Aries, the goddess of strife. Oof, I'm very inspired about her these days. I've had a lot of insights and work done on her lately, so that's going to be one of my webinars this spring. And the other one is also actually about the nodal axis, because there's an ongoing inspiration about these things. And for me, it's about the rulers of the nodal axis. How do we make them function at a level that liberates the potential, the power of the nodal axis? Because once you get there, it's starting to really become fun, because the north node, if the south node is your karma, the north node is your dharma, and dharma is the joy path. And we would love to get there, all of us. So then the rulers becomes extremely important to take a look at. So that's going to be the other web class I'm going to host on my channel, Polaris Astrology, this year, which you can find on Facebook. So if people are interested and to dig me up, I'm possible to find.
Yeah, and we'll get your link right below this video, so people can just click on your website and find you.
And thank you for the initiative. Wow, what a thing to do.
It was like the Uranian bolt of lightning. It was just like, zoop, it was literally all in like one instant. This is the title of the summit. This is the intention. This is like the vision of the summit. And it was just like, go for it. And it was like right when Mercury retrograde was starting, I was like, now? And it was like, yeah, go for it. I was like, okay, we're doing it.
Wonderful. That's amazing. So yeah, good work.
Well, thank you. I'm having like a fan moment getting to be here with you. This is so exciting to get to sit here and talk to you. So thank you so much for taking the time to just be here and share your wisdom and really ground us into this current time that we're in. It's so supportive.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, thank you. And thank you to everyone that's here watching. And I hope to see you all in the next talk. I'll see you soon, everyone. Bye for now.